The Kelly Cardenas Podcast, where attitude is everything. We're continuing another episode of Unscripted, and this is episode 325. I want to thank all of you who have been rocking. If you want to go back to episode 319, that's where we started our journey in Proverbs. It started at Proverbs 6 because it was the 6th. We're doing the corresponding proverb, corresponding day, and it has been unbelievable. Here's a disclaimer too. I've told you before, I'm not a Bible scholar, although these are my opinions. And this is not me preaching at you. This is me studying it and learning some things. I have some questions today, which is going to be amazing. We got a power-packed episode. Unbelievable. The book of Proverbs, corresponding proverb, corresponding day. We're going to do Proverbs 11, and I promise you, it is absolute fire. We got 6 points that we're going to hit. It is going to be unbelievable. We're going to touch on leadership, culture, and systems also, and it is going to be amazing. So thank you for rocking with the podcast. Welcome to another episode of Unscripted. Let's go.
Cause we believin', it's for certain. We put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
Welcome to another episode of Unscripted. I'm your host, Kelly Cardenas, and I appreciate you more than you could ever know. And again, the disclaimer here is we're going through this, we're studying it together, and I've been studying it, and I have some questions today. So let's jump right into Proverbs 11. So Proverbs 11, it's the whole theme of this entire chapter, which is, let me check and see, we've got 31 verses in this chapter. Pretty simple to read. Every one of them has 2 sentences in it. And I was looking at the theme as I was reading through this and as I was studying, and the theme over and over again was just do the right thing. It was a very simple one. And so what I looked at is, what I want you to do is I want you to look at this through the lens of wherever you're at, but there's 3 different ones that I want to look at. The first one is leadership, right? So leadership, and then culture, and then systems. So, and this could be in your family, it could be in your business, it could just be in your general life and in your relationships. But let's think of that theme, do the right thing, and then leadership, culture, and systems. So Proverbs 11, right off the bat, here's the words that we're going to be dealing with today. And it's in this part to me is awesome, because if we just focus on these things, imagine how your business, your relationships, or your life could change or shift. Humility, honesty, wisdom, integrity, wealth, righteousness, understanding, trustworthiness, and generosity. And again, I counted how many times this verse said righteousness, and it used righteousness. In 31 verses, it used it 13 times. So let's jump right to point number 1. Don't let your ego get involved. And this is a part that is huge for me, because in my business, a lot of times when I would see failure, and I did fail, and some people say there's no failure. Yes, there is. That's where you learn. When I would fail in my business, every time I would track it back, it was back to my ego, where I was trying to project something as opposed to just simply listening and seeing it from someone else's perspective. When you see things from other people's perspective, like Dennis J. Cook talked to us about the other night, it's amazing what can start to happen. And I was raised in a military family where in that military family, you were forced to look at other people's perspective, but I think as I went along, I siloed myself more and more and more, and I only had my opinion, and I based everything off my opinion as opposed to other people's perspective, and that's where my ego got involved, and that's in verse 2. So if you look in verse 2, it says right off the bat, it says, when pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom. Point number 1.5 is seek God in all things. And this one was a big one. It's verse 7. Hopes placed in mortals will die with them, and all the promise of their power comes to nothing. And so just seek God in all things. When you seek God in all things, your ego has the tendency to drop down, and you have the tendency to be able to move forward a lot easier. Point number 2 is righteousness pays. And what is righteousness? And this was a thing that we talked about the other day, where a lot of people associate this with self-righteousness. No, righteousness is just doing the right thing. And what is the right thing? Well, the only way that we know what the right thing is when we're in communication with God himself. And I believe that he has a sense of humor. He's not just a God that's standing over the top of you. And when we realize that when God is on our side, meaning that righteousness, doing the right thing, doesn't have to be, stiff. It can be fun. It can be exciting. But I want you to realize that God has a sense of humor, and he's laughing with you. He wants to commune with you and have a phenomenal relationship. He's not just this Lord over the top of you saying you can't do all these things. He's saying these are all the things that you can do. But if you do this part, I don't want you to get hurt. I love you more than anything in the world. So here is a path that would work a little bit better. And so righteousness pays, and this was referred to in verse 4 through 6, 8 through 10, verse 19, verse 21, verse 23, verse 28, verse 30, and verse 31. So it just reiterates over and over and over again that righteousness pays, and it compares it against non-righteous behavior, which would be not right for you at the time. And the only way that we'll know right for us at the time is if we stay in communication with God, have a personal relationship with him, as opposed to trying to get to him through rituals. Point number 3, seek counsel. Verse 14, this one's massive. I hear this all the time from my friend Greg Reed. He's the Michael Jordan of the personal development realm. That guy is unbelievable. He wrote 3 Feet from Gold. I think he's been published in over 150 books. Got 48 or 50 bestsellers. And he tells me all the time, seek counsel, not advice. What is counsel? Counsel is talking to someone who's actually done it, as opposed to someone who is theorizing about it. So seek counsel. And in verse 14, it says, for lack of guidance, a nation falls, but victory is won through many advisors. Seek counsel. Point number 4, stay out of debt and mind your business. This is amazing, because if you read Think and Grow Rich, I was just reading it, and I'm actually in the middle of it right now, and Robert Kiyosaki talks about this principle. And again, go back to where the foundation was. It's in Proverbs 11, verse 15. And in verse 15, it says, whoever puts up security for a stranger will surely suffer, but whoever refuses to shake hands in a pledge is safe. Stay out of debt. Mind your business, your particular purpose. This is where I have challenges all the time, is because I see someone doing something that is so amazing, and I think, wow, I could do that too. Their reward is so amazing, so maybe I should go and do it too. And then I frustrate myself, because I realize that even though I can do it, like my mom said, you can do anything that you put your mind to, but here was the caveat. Just because you could do it doesn't make it your purpose. So we find this, especially social media, especially with all the things that we get inundated today, that we look at someone else's path, we look at someone else's result, and we say, oh, wow, maybe I should be doing that. No. Mind your business. You have a purpose. Stick to that. Put your head down. And when you do, what'll happen is you'll see exponential gain. And it won't happen when you want it to happen. It'll be God's plan, his will, and his timing. So be patient. But number 4, stay out of debt and mind your business. And so let's go on to point number 5. Point number 5 is generosity. In verse 24 through 26, it says, one person gives freely, yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly but comes to poverty. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. People who curse the one who hoards gain, but they pray God's blessing on the one who is willing to sell. Think of this. In verse 25, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. Okay, here we go. If you help everyone else get what they want, you'll never have to worry about what you want. Zig Ziglar. Guys, the personal development realm, it all goes back to Proverbs. Point number 6, what you seek will find, you will find. Verse 27. And in verse 27, it talks about whoever seeks good finds favor, but evil comes to the one who searches for it. Whatever you seek, you will find. And so, again, these are principles or things that you hear in different books that what I find is they're right there in Proverbs 11. Point number 7. Point number 7 is verse 28. And in verse 28, it says, those who trust in their riches will fall, but the righteous will thrive like a green leaf. Do the right thing for the right reasons, and the right things will turn out. And when you look at this in verse 28, trust in your people, don't trust in your money. And when you trust in the people around you and the friendships that you have around you, you trust in God, you build people up. Guess what happens? The right thing. So in point number 8, as we finish up, is provide for your family. And in this one, it is verse, I didn't write it down. Whoever brings ruin on their family will inherit it. Okay, let me do it again. Whoever brings ruin on their family will inherit only the wind, and a fool will be servant to the wise. Provide for your family. And it doesn't mean just provide for your family financially. It means personally, professionally, spiritually, and financially. Loving on your family. My brother told me this. The most important people that you'll ever impact is not the industry. It's not millions of people. It's not the thousands of people or the hundreds of thousands or 10,000s that you think you want to. It's going to be the 3 people around your table, Maddox, McKenna, and Brooklyn. And you can insert your names there of your family. When you impact your family around your dinner table, everything else has the ripple effect. The last one here, guys, is I wanted to define righteousness. And righteousness, I looked at it in the synonyms of this is ethical, virtuous, and noble. And imagine if you just took righteous out of it and you said ethical, virtuous, and noble. Would you want that in your business? Would you want that in your life? Would you want that in your relationships? Here's where I question this, because I told you I had a couple of questions. I questioned it a couple of times when I looked at this. And it was because it always talked about, adding days to your life if you're righteous, all those things. And this one in verse 8, I struggled with, and this was 12:11:22. The righteous person will be rescued from trouble, and it falls on the wicked instead. And I wrote my pops, because my pops died at a very early age. And I continue to question this. I continue to ask God, why is that? If he was righteous, he did some great things. He was an amazing man. Why did he have to suffer, and why did he have to leave? And it's not a bad thing to question God. And when you question God, it causes a communion. And so I want to leave you with this, guys, is Proverbs 11 is all about doing the right thing, but it's not about preaching the right thing. It's not about telling everyone else what they should be doing. It's about us having a personal relationship and asking questions. When you ask questions, you deepen your relationship with God. So Proverbs 11 has been unbelievable. Do the right thing in leadership, in culture, in systems. Think about it. Humility, honesty, wisdom, integrity, wealth, righteousness, understanding, trustworthiness, generosity, and righteousness was mentioned 13 times. So I hope you had a phenomenal time with me. This is another episode of Unscripted. We'll continue to go through the book of Proverbs, corresponding proverb, corresponding day, and I invite you, read it before you actually watch the episode, and then that way you're going through it and you're looking at it from your point of view also. I want to thank you for rocking with the podcast. As always, you guys are incredible. Make sure that your heart set, your mindset, and your skill set, put them in line. It creates an irresistible vibe. Have a wonderful day. I love you. Peace, love, and soul. I am officially off the hot seat.